So we'll go ahead and get started. I think everybody has an agenda, and as always, we're just going to walk through that agenda. If you have some comments you want to make, feel free to do that. Roll call. We need to make sure everybody's here. So, Taryn, can you call for roll call?
Yes. I don't have anything pulled up. Brent Dodrell.
Here.
Jordan Winthrop.
Here.
Kalika Stanton.
Here.
Chris Stanton.
Here.
And Gina Sherman. Here.
All right, everybody's present.
They hung up.
Wasn't excited enough yet, I guess. So we have a consent agenda. Our last official meeting was February 26th, and then in March we had our little tour and little goal setting session. So we got the minutes for those. I did my best to kind of capture everybody's kind of general thoughts from our discussion. So can we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Jordan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Gina seconded. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. So citizen concerns and comments. I don't know if this person that's on the phone has any comments that they'd like to make. Now would be your chance. If you do, you'd need to identify who you are and your address, and then give us any comments. If you're just here to listen, that's okay as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Jamie Smith, and I live on 1205 Northeast Gardner Drive up in Cascadia Ridge. And I'm here to speak about the park that's going in across the street from my house.
Okay. We don't have that on the agenda, but it'd still be fine for you to go ahead and make some comments, and we'll take note of that. Go ahead.
I know that a few of my neighbors were supposed to be on this as well to speak, but there's been lots of controversy on our little neighborhood app that we have. And I would just like to state my concerns about a park, right? The park that's going in is right across the street from a house and right next door to another house. So it's not like it's in an area that, you know, is in a separate area by itself. There's actually a couple of houses really, really close by. And so my concern is that if it's designated as a park, that there will be a lot of cars parked kind of across the street. And I don't think it would be a safe plan to designate it as a park, as people would come and, you know, with their cars and kids play out. It's kind of a dead end street also. So a lot of kids and dog walkers are out here. I just think with a lot of cars, because right now there is space designated for parking for a park. Like the parking spaces have already been there long before they started turning it into something. So I just feel like with a bunch of parked cars, that creates a safety hazard. And my wish is for it to be just a green space, just a nice green grass and trees and nothing more.
Okay. I missed your name. Can you tell me your name again?
Jamie Smith.
All right. And just to clarify, this is the park that's in the top of the subdivision above the cemetery. Is that right?
Yeah, on Gardner.
Okay.
Take a right on Gardner at the end of the street.
So just so I understood the concern, it's not so much it's an area there, but if we put a bunch of equipment in there that draws a bunch of people, you're concerned about, sounds like you're mostly concerned about safety of cars and that sort of thing with kids that are around.
Yeah.
There, right?
Yeah, there's already it's like when they created the subdivision, they created parking spaces for a park.
Right.
So it already attracts people as quote unquote extra places to park. But also kids play down here because it's a dead end. And so if you've got people thinking, oh, there's a park at the end of Gardner, let's drive down there and park, there's gonna be all these parked cars in such a small space. It's not like this quote unquote park is you know, in the somewhere separate. It's literally right across right across the street from and not even a real street, but you know what I mean? Like a dead end, like it's a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
So there's a house, us, and then the park right there, and then the park has a neighbor. So it's really close quarters to a few houses. I'd call it 3 houses.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. We actually did a tour back in March and looked around that. That was actually one of the things that was commented at the time, not necessarily about the homes that are across the street, but the home that's right next to the park. So
That's me.
Yeah, I remember I talked when we went and toured, I talked about that. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess that's something we already noted and how that's going to impact the neighbors. So your concern is noted, and it sounds like you're suggesting we had not actually put a lot of equipment in there, just having a green space. I guess my thought is even if it's a green space, there's probably going to still be people that drive there and sit on the bench and have lunch or something there anyway. It's probably still going to draw people to it. I don't know that we can solve the problem unless we don't do anything there and put another house in.
Well, I think that if it's just a green space, people are less apt to want to drive to a green space, A. B, you could remove the extra parking spaces so that it's not a draw for people to drive and park there. I mean, but I think also if it's just a green space, people are not going to want to necessarily drive to go sit in a grassy area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, and I guess that would be considered one of our neighborhood parks. Then it's really hard to have a neighborhood park unless it's in a neighborhood, and it's going to be close to people. So that's, I guess, one of the challenges. So I don't know if any of the other commissioners have any comments they'd like to make. Not that we're going to resolve this issue tonight, but just comment to it at all.
Yeah. Is
ahead.
that okay? Okay. I'm the house that's immediately adjacent. And so I've been trying to follow the parks. I've been trying to follow about when this is going to be discussed and when this is going to be moved forward so that I can provide public comment. It didn't seem like it was moving forward. And then suddenly now things are moving forward. So my concerns are, of course, as Jamie mentioned, safety. Hopefully, we already have a bunch of basketball hoops on the on the street. So that's unnecessary, I think, to add more in. But green space, fine. My concerns are that my property is protected because we are immediately adjacent to that. We already have people walking around our property. And sounds like I was in contact with Melanie Wagner. She said that your guys are going to be bringing dirt in to level it, which makes sense. But now that means that if somebody walks by my fence, they can now peer over it. The back corner of our fence, which would be the back corner of this park area. If you walk up there right now, you can already look. I'm 5 foot. You can look over the fence into our yard. And we have a raised deck. We bought the property to have privacy at the end of a street. Due to my husband's profession, we wanted that privacy, but now that seems like that's going to be taken away. So I'd really like to protect the privacy of our yard, our property, my dog barking. I have a large German Shepherd who does not want people around the yard. He's currently barking right now. Good. But I'm really hoping that you guys could consider putting in arborvitae or something to protect our privacy, as well as, the noise of the neighborhood, I guess, with my dogs viewing people in that park. That's been my biggest concern. And then that any equipment that does go in there, hopefully you guys will consider putting that in the far corner, like further away from Jamie's house and then my house. And I think And as Jamie mentioned, we do already have people coming up here without a park being there. So I've seen last summer, we had a couple of cops called because people there's a kind of an alleyway to go down. It's a nice walking path, but people do misuse that. They go down there to shoot, usually young kids. They're using firearms down there. And then usually there's a little bit of drug use, and it's a little irritating to have that so close to our property. I know that's just, there's no way to get around that with public use lands, but I would just like the consideration that our property value and property security is secure.
Yeah, I really appreciate you making note of that. And again, I remember when we were on that tour, those things were noted. It was Gina that actually mentioned that we need to be aware of that close neighbor. I guess just one more comment. This is, I guess, more philosophical in the sense that the city council has kind of determined, as we put in new neighborhoods, they want parks in the neighborhoods.
Right.
And so we're then tasked with trying to make sure that we have the right equipment and that sort of thing in it. And I guess if we hear from neighbors, this is kind of a weird thing to say, if we hear from neighborhoods that they don't want parks in them because they draw people to them, that's just something that actually would have to be kicked up to the city council, because they've got the sense that all these new subdivisions want parks in them. And so we're moving in that direction.
Right.
So we haven't made the decision of where parks go. I should say our little commission, we've just tasked with getting equipment in there that would be appropriate. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think unfortunate for the neighbors who are immediately adjacent to it, the subdivision does seem to want this. So I guess there's some consideration for the security of the immediately adjacent neighbors. That is what we're really hoping for, because as dirt is moved in there, I think that my husband was saying they're already moving dirt in there. That means the land on the other side of our fence is already being raised, and you can just walk up to our fence and look over it. So that really makes my personal displeasure, I guess.
Yeah, and I would certainly understand that. I feel the same way. So I think some sort of sight and even sound barrier as arborvitae or something could be considered by the city. So we will certainly take note of that. And the city manager is here listening as well, so she'll be aware of that as well as we move ahead.
Excellent.
I think something too that I've noticed is, I've seen neighborhood parks in Sandy developments. I've seen them here down in Campanella Estates. I've seen them in the Troutdale area. And I've always noticed the neighborhood parks to be really, really its own area. So not right in a cul-de-sac. Basically, that's what we are. I wouldn't even say that this park is across the street from my house. It's more like it's a cul-de-sac and it's right there. So there's the neighborhood parks I've seen have just been more a larger area, not so close to houses. That's my concern. Everyone wants a neighborhood park, but no one wants it right literally next door. And that's what this space is to me and to the property right next to it. It's like literally right next door. So there's that. The other thing is speaking to the trail that leads to the Christmas tree farm that Ashley was speaking, that there's a lot of inappropriate activity on sometimes. We've also noticed cars driving down that road, like, at 2 a.m. Cops have been called because of cars driving. And I just feel like between that trail and this new park/hangout area is just going to make it worse, just because we already have that going on. Sorry if that's redundant, but.
Yeah.
So I have a question. I was curious if you guys think that having like a better usage of it, with like having more families and on that property would help eliminate some of the bad usage that's going on. So if there's more people there, will it help deter people from doing bad things in the corners?
Well, maybe. I'm sure it's no surprise that, we have a cop car parked in front of our house. So that alone is not deterring it. If anything, that is inviting the neighborhood to come to my door to say, hey, we have a problem down here. It's like, okay, we're off duty having a beer. Go call the cops.
Yeah,
Can I mention something real quick too?
go ahead.
It's interesting that both of you guys have mentioned like with the idea of like the parks, so close in proximity to homes. And I hear, like that comparison of Campanella. It was interesting on the park tour that we went on. There's another one up on, is it Reagan Hill? Is that Reagan Hill?
Pasadero.
Yeah, and they are, it's seeming like there's a lot more of a design to put parks right in the midst of like houses. So one of the other ones that we noticed up there too happened to be on, like an empty lot amongst others in the cul-de-sac. And it seems like that's kind of the route where these new parks, in my experience at least, seem to be designed into. So I'm curious about that myself as you guys are bringing up that point.
Yeah, again, that's kind of where I was going, in that the city council's wanting these parks and neighborhoods kind of want parks. So I guess what I would ask Jamie, you and Ashley is I don't know that we can reverse the ship and not put a park there at this point, but we can certainly do all we can to keep it, to actually protect your privacy and then mitigate some of those problems. So I would be interested in getting any input as far as what do we put in there. You mentioned just a green space, so that's option one. The only other thing that we could put in there as far as any sort of equipment, you don't need to answer this now, but that you think would be best suited given the location, because that will be our task moving ahead, is trying to decide what goes in there. So we would certainly be open to your input after this meeting via email, just to give us any direction.
Well, and also, because I can see, so the post went on the Nextdoor app in my neighborhood, so I can see all of it. And I know a lot of people are really excited about it. And one of the things that I want to make sure that you guys both saw is we do want to talk to the HOA. And I think, Denise, were you going to try and go meet with the HOA?
Well, I thought you guys, a year or so ago, I asked if you guys wanted to do that.
Yeah, and we,
Yeah, so.
yeah,
but,
like we want the input.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna give you an update now. I have it down for later, but since Ashley and Jamie are on here. So what we're doing right now is we're leveling it, and we're gonna plant grass and put irrigation in. And nothing is gonna be developed other than that there until the 21-22 budget year. And we certainly have talked about if whatever goes in there, we want to put a fence at least along the back and the side, the most southerly side there, not in the front, but the other sides, which would keep people from, going down. Well, it won't keep them because people can jump fences, but it maybe will deter people from going down over where it's not even onto down in there to do whatever they're doing. And we certainly will look at some arborvitaes. We're developing the park on a cul-de-sac up in Reagan Hill Heights. We are doing that this year. It's a little bit smaller lot. And we are taking in consideration, there's a walkway on one side, but the other two houses are right next to it. And we're talking to them about what we can do to alleviate noise and any balls that to go into someone's yards or that type of thing. So we've looked at some parks in Happy Valley that are right surrounded by houses, and noticed that a lot of their vegetation is too full to make it look nice, but also to reduce the sound levels and the intrusion on the neighbors. So when we get closer to being able to budget money for that, which won't be in our next budget year, but the next budget year, we're certainly going to work with you guys. And like Ashley had said, unfortunately, we have had a lot of people from that area up there really wants a park. And our intent for that park is more for the young mother with smaller children. It's not to put in a bunch of stuff for teenagers. It's more so the mother can, you know, walk. And neighborhood parks aren't really for cars. They're for people walking there from the neighborhood and using the park area. I'm one of the houses up in Cazadero that my whole backyard border, there's a park right in the middle of a block up here, a neighborhood park. And there's about probably 12 houses around it that like my gate goes into the park, my back gate. And we have found that really we don't get a lot of visitors from other parts of town, that it's used a lot, but it's mostly the neighborhood kids. And that's not to say that at 11 o'clock on a nice summer night, I'm not yelling out my window to tell kids to get out of the park because the park's closed at dusk. It does happen, but they're the neighborhood kids I'm yelling at. So, you know, hopefully we can work and try to make something. As far as the city, if everyone agrees, let's just have a grassy area. I mean, that saves us money to just put grass in and a fence. But I have a feeling we're gonna at least end up with one play structure for like 5 and under kids up there is kind of what I'm looking at. I would like to leave a lot of grassy area for kids to go out and hit a softball or kick a soccer ball, because yards are so small anymore. There's not enough room to do that. And I think that would be a great place for neighborhood kids to go to practice throwing a baseball or a softball or something. But anyway, that's what's happening right now.
Can I speak to, this is just my personal opinion, it may not make sense to anybody else, but I appreciate where you're going with the whole fencing in thing.
Mhm.
But, you know, part of the reason why we picked this lot is because we love the open space and the nature. And there is a little, you know, a deer family that lives out there, and they like to, it's fun to watch the wildlife. It would just be nice to not make it so boxed in as we already are. You know what I mean? So to leave, and to definitely provide the arborvitae for the buffer between the property there and the park, but then maybe not make it so fenced in like.
Yeah, you know, we'd be looking at more at just like a 4-foot, maybe black chain link that you really can't see against the brush on the backside. And basically, if someone is kicking a soccer ball around, so it's not going over the edge down into the goalie. We aren't looking to put up a big wood structure that you can't see through or anything.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. I guess when you're talking about that fence, is that to protect the green space that's directly behind our property and behind the park? Is that still considered green space?
Yeah, so part of the acreage of this lot that the city owns is bigger than the flat area that it goes down over the hill. But yes, we don't want people down there. For one thing, I think it's dangerous because it isn't a cleared path area. Someone could get hurt and that. But that whole creek that goes through there is to keep that space green and not having it trampled down.
Okay. And then my second question is, so just for clarity, you guys wouldn't be able to approve any protection for our property until the 21-22 budget year?
No, I'll look into the vegetation now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good input, Ashley. Jamie, thank you for taking the time and for logging in. And I'm also thinking that since there is an HOA and this is more a park for the people in that area, that even concerns with children and that sort of thing, it would probably be something to raise up in the HOA. I don't know how active or effective that HOA is. Sometimes they are kind of useless, but might be something that they could help with down the road once we develop it.
Right.
I think this HOA is pretty active, and we certainly will when it gets closer, we'll meet with them to hear them too. But one of you were saying it's hard to get information from them, but I have, I just got an email from the president. I could send that to you guys if you need it, or do you have it, or?
Sure, it'd be useful if we
Okay.
have.
Maybe if you could, Taryn, will you send them a private message to let them give their email addresses to you? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you guys
Private chat.
for giving us that
Thank
input.
you.
We'll go ahead and move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise, thank you for the update that you just mentioned there. Is there any other things you want to update us on as far as,
I do.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that the Wade Creek Park Phase 3, we're still working on writing funding applications for that. We have just finished an application for 1.4 million from the State Parks Fund. We will know, we have an interview and we will give a presentation to them at the start of May, and we'll know by June if we have that. So that's half of the project. So we're excited because we already have the 400,000 from the parks that we got last year, 75,000 from the Estacada Community Foundation. And then we have the Ford Foundation, and one other one that we're applying for about 800,000 more. So we're getting it down to where with all the money we have, we only need to raise about 200,000. So that for a $3 million project, that's exciting.
Wow.
The projected build out of that is October 2021. We have hired the engineering firm. They have started engineering, and we'll start the permitting this next year because the permits take 6 to 9 months to get. So the building of the actual park isn't going to happen until 21, but we got to get all the funding lined up. I was going to update you on all the neighborhood parks. So the Cazadero Neighborhood Park is getting a new slide, and we're getting irrigation put in this spring. The Cascadia Ridge Park, which is what we just talked about, we're doing the grass and irrigation right now. And we'll check on the arborvitaes, the vegetation, and see what we can do along that one side. The Reagan Hill Heights Park, which is the small park at the end of the cul-de-sac, we budget 150,000 in the budget for next year, so we will be able to put in some amenities in that park. I think that they have tilled it up already, but that park, we won't have any grassy area. We're gonna kind of model it after the Happy Valley Neighborhood Parks. It has a big round cement concrete wall that you can use as a sitting wall while your kids are playing, with some stuff in the middle of it with really nice vegetation, shrubs and flowers and stuff around the outside, with the pathways in, and of course a garbage can and a bench. I don't know if we'll have a bench depending how much of the seat wall there is. But that's what we have budgeted to do in the 2021 year, and then the Cascadia one will be the next budget year. Let me see. The restrooms are all closed at all the parks right now because of the coronavirus. We don't want people congregating. They'll open up when all this gets straightened out. The trails and open spaces are still open. If you've been up to, I don't think it was done when you guys took your tour, but if you go up to Campanella Park now, that pathway around the park, I think, is all done now. So you can go around that whole area now if you want to go.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's
and
open.
So many people are down there using it and using the paved road to
Right.
ride their bikes and walk right now. It's awesome.
Yeah. And then the school is grading the back 20. They're grading it now, getting it ready to plant grass and install their irrigation. They hope to be able to, by the fall, if there are fall sports, to be able to lightly use that area in the fall. And then the Lakeshore Project, the water project, the first phase is done of engineering. I think we're at 60% engineering is complete. They've given us a budget of about 1.8 million for that project. So now Matt is writing grants for that. We do have 100,000 in urban renewal money budgeted for next budget year to start on the permitting, and again, we need water permits for that. They're expensive, and other permits before we can go on with our. That's my update on what's going on with parks in Estacada.
All right, I have a few questions, but Taryn, can you make sure that those details get in the minutes? Because I won't remember any of that, frankly, so I'll need to be able to look back. So make sure all those details get in there. So Denise, we and I have worked together, but I'm new on this Parks and Rec thing. So here's my question. So you just talked about a park and what's going to go in the park. That one that's in the cul-de-sac, and you know it's going to have the concrete wall. So I don't remember giving any input to that. So the decision as far as what goes in that park or any park, now I'm a bit confused on who's making that decision.
Right. So when we get down, what we're going to do is pick out a few things and then bring it to you guys and say, here's our budget. Here's some things that we think would go. What is this? So 2 years ago, you guys worked on some criteria for small neighborhood parks. So we're kind of looking at that. And because this is such a small park, not a lot's going to go in there, but certainly a bench. You know, we need a place to sit in the garbage and the doggy thing. Those are three of the most important things that you're going to see in all parks. But we're going to bring to you some equipment that we think would be good in there for different ages of kids. And then you guys can look through and decide if you like what we did or if you want to add something else and take out something. So you'll see that probably in June at your June meeting.
Okay, and then like when we consider the Campanella Park, great big long skinny thing, is it going to do that? Or will it function that same way?
No.
Or your planners will say, hey, here's some things that could go in. Where do you want them? How do we anticipate functioning?
So so the Parks and Rec, it might have been before you were there, Brent, authorized us to hire Stephen Shibley to do a master plan of the whole park, because really there's some undeveloped parts of the park that we even had before this. And so we decided to wait and do that till it got closer to we were going to have the money to put stuff in, because right now with Wade Creek Park Phase 3, all the money's tied up for the next 2 years. So we didn't want to have Stephen do something last year that isn't going to even happen till 3 years down the road.
Right.
So when we get to where we start, we're going to have some money to put towards it, and we're going to be able to write a few grants, because if we have a spray park in there, which I think is the big thing, we're going to need a grant or two. We'll start that process with Stephen on doing a master plan, which will include public input, open houses, you guys certainly, and all that, just like we did the master plan of Wade Creek Park Phase 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because we did
happen for a year or so.
We did like our recommendations for that park. We listed all the things.
Right. And he has those to base his initial drawings on.
Yeah.
And then when he gets that, then we'll go through the process. What do you like and what do you think needs in there? Yeah.
And I know something we all talked about, and as you can see up here, I knew that was going to happen tonight. Definitely before anything goes on up here, like people really want that park, but then there's a couple people that really don't, but they really want input. So
yeah,
including
that happens everywhere. Yeah, well, we're gonna get that. So
yeah.
All right. One of the things that was noted, and I think it ended up in the minutes, that when we toured that Campanella estate and the park and considering a splash pad, the big concern was parking. And it doesn't look like there's been any plans at this point for parking for something like that. So
no.
I just want to make sure Stephen is aware of that, and I'm sure he is.
Yep, he is. There's going to be parking at the spray park end, and then the other end that the road doesn't go through yet, we'll also have a parking lot at that end for walkers, and whatever happens down there, we'll have a separate parking area. Yeah.
Okay.
One question I have is, about neighborhood parks and when people are purchasing lots, if they know
Yeah.
or aware that those are going to be parks in the future, or if we could just put like a simple sign, like a park will be here in 2026 or something like that, where they kind of can plan or know
Mhm.
that's the lot designated for a park.
Yeah.
Uh,
On the big one up at Cascadia, it is designated open space on the map. And I mean, it was very clear that that was going to be a park. And same with Reagan Hill. Everyone knows that that little cul-de-sac area is going to be a park. So, but we, you know, when someone moves in, do they read their deed? Probably not, you know.
Yeah, I know the one in Cascadia Ridge, like it was super clear to us when we bought, we drove up there and saw it and we were like super excited that
Yeah.
there was the parking spots and everything.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So Denise, one more quick question about future parks. In one of our tours, and I can't remember the neighborhoods, but the one up above the cemetery went up there and then drove down the other side and went to the right. And there's gonna be a park in there, right? And it's
Yep.
just, again, right on the corner.
But that's going to be an HOA park, not a city park. So we won't have anything to do with that.
Oh, okay.
That's their HOA. So, yeah.
Anybody have any other questions for Denise?
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
Uh-huh.
So as far as other business, we've got a few things canceled, of course. The Earth Day event didn't happen. And it looks like our Art in the Park event is not happening as scheduled. Gina, is there anything in lieu of that or anything we're doing virtually at all, or we're just not doing it this year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to go about doing it virtually. I know, Jordan, you had the idea for your event to go virtual, which I think is awesome. I had thought about like, could we push it back? Could we do it at a different time? But I think everything is so unknown. And I'm really bummed because my daughter was super looking forward to doing that this year. But it's like we could plan it further. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, we have no idea when we'll be able to gather in that regard. So I think I would be most comfortable just waiting until that's a little more definite. And then if we
Yeah.
want to try to do something, we'll make it happen. Otherwise, I don't want to plan it and then just postpone it again.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a bummer because I loved that event last year, but
And I think also with that in mind, like if we are holding off and being like cautious about canceling it, it's a lot easier to cancel it later than if we cancel it and then find out, oh, it's, you know, that's free space to try to do the hype on it.
yeah.
So Jordan, on the film festival, you're got that up and going, you're advertising it on all the different places. What do we need to know and what can we do to help, if anything?
Yeah, so basically the format is switched over to submitting the films. Still same short format, same everything, other than it's going to be presented on Zoom, similar to how we're doing here. People will be able to log in, see the movies that are presented. Hopefully there'll be about an hour's worth or less. And the only difference from what we decided previously, it will be the timing. So before it was going to be pretty late at night, so the sun was going to be set, but now we don't have to worry about that. So we're going to push the time to be a little bit earlier in the day.
So we haven't received any information on that to put in our website or anything. And I noticed on the Parks and Rec Facebook, it said it was happening, but it didn't give any details of how you submit anything. Will you be getting that to us so we can put that up somewhere?
Yeah, so one of the things I was wondering if the city had like a Zoom account that we want to have this all go through, or if it's something that you want the Park and Recs to set up a separate Zoom for just this one specific event. So there's a couple details that I wanted to find out at this meeting, how we wanted to present it. I wanted people to submit the movies to me either through Dropbox or through Google Drive.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of, does the city have an ability to like receive movies through the website currently, or should it just all go right through my email? It seems
I
like,
think going through your email is best, so you just have everything.
okay.
But
Yeah,
we
so-
do have Zoom.
Yeah, so right now, I mean, for me to use my free account, I can limit it to 40 minutes. So if you guys have like a paid Zoom account, we could have
Yeah.
a limited amount of.
We do.
So that's the only thing. But I mean, so you'd need to let me be a host, and then I would host the meeting, and then we'd invite people in through a link, just like how you did with this meeting.
And then the shared screen would just be the movies.
Yep, and then we just do screen sharing to everyone.
And
Are
then,
we,
where did you get it into the Peach Jar and have you advertised at the schools, or what's the plan for that?
No one has responded at schools yet, but I put it through Facebook, I put it through Nextdoor, and I put it through PDX Pipeline so far, the 3 like social media
Yeah.
areas.
So what do you mean no one's replied from the school? Who'd you try to get a hold of that isn't, so I can maybe, who did you?
Let me look at that one.
Well, you can just send it to me.
Okay,
And then, but like I said, on Facebook, there were no details.
so was
said
it
it's
on
gonna
the,
happen.
did you click through onto the event, or was it like,
Yeah, on
oh.
the event.
Okay, let me make sure there's more details
Okay,
shown there, because some of it was as a draft while I'm inventing it as we speak.
if you can just send that to us so Melanie can get it on our website and our Facebook, and with, you know, by when do they have to have the movies in, the email that they send it to and how, and then the time, if there's a new time of the
Okay.
event, so.
Yep, the time is on the Facebook event now. The new time is on the Facebook
Oh,
event.
what time is it?
Was 7?
7?
Yes.
Is that
Okay,
right? I
thank
read
you.
it a couple days ago.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So
Jordan,
yeah,
are we
then with
planning on
advertising, we're
doing
planning
some
on
kind of a-
doing some Facebook boosting of the ad and the event. So boosting it through Facebook is the main way that I think advertising is going to work at this point.
Are we trying to record the event itself? So if someone, for example, couldn't make it that night, they could go to a link and watch the whole thing, like a screencast of some sort?
We can record it on Zoom and then upload it to YouTube. So yes, definitely.
Okay.
It's just a matter of where we're going to put that available. I guess like on the Park and Rec's Facebook page, we can post a link to the YouTube for later. That's a good idea.
Okay, good job, Jordan, making that happen. Sounds like it's just a matter of getting the information more to the city and they can help promote it, and we'll see what happens with it.
Okay.
All right. The next thing on the agenda is the budget request. And we came out of our little goal setting time with kind of some, not any hard figures on anything, but I think just setting that budget request at 10,000, I think that would cover everything that Rob wants to do with the concert series. And again, that's kind of up in the air, particularly for the June concert, if that's going to happen. So Denise, do you need more details than that? I think that would cover everything that we have as our goals.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I was looking at, how much was it?
Were you checking the scores or something? What were you
No.
doing?
I was looking. No.
It was just 10,000.
Okay, good. Okay, yep, that's good. And that, just so we put in there, it's for the concerts, Art in the Park, Film Festival, Earth Day. And am I missing, and then booths.
Well, and I don't know if, yeah, I guess any of our goals, I don't know if there's any fees that or costs that'll be involved in any of our goals. We talked about, doing some surveys around neighbors. So wherever that money needs to go, I'm not sure if the city
Okay,
office just would absorb costs for putting together a survey or any of that, but I
yeah,
think 10,000 would cover it.
okay, perfect.
And then the last thing was the goals, and you all, I emailed those all of you, and they're on the bottom of the agenda as well. As we talked about, we kind of talked about programming goals, development goals, and then partnership or promotion goals. And there's the 4 events as far as the programming. And I think we need to have Rob come and talk with us at our next meeting. I don't know if Taryn, you can contact Rob and have him come. He's kind of the driving force behind this concerts. And I don't know, I've had some brief conversations with him, but I told him we need to talk to the entire commission as far as what he's doing and then what we need to be responsible for. And then the development goals, just to look at those, make sure we're all clear on them. Work with the city to develop new upcoming neighborhood parks. And Denise, thank you for clarifying how that process is going to go moving ahead. Surveys residents that surround neighborhood parks. So it sounded like contacting that HOA. So the 2 parks the 2 neighborhoods that need to be surveyed would be the one that had the people in it that was just here in our meeting, and then the one that's currently in that cul-de-sac. And again, I forget the names. I guess I'm opening it up. Do we want to do some sort of a survey, paper survey we hand around the neighborhoods, or do something online? I don't know if you guys have any input on that.
I know I can speak for Cascadia Ridge in general. Most people are pretty active on the Nextdoor app and also on Estacada Neighborhood Watch, but that's like a bigger, but if we put something out through Nextdoor when we get closer, obviously, to the 2021, 2022 budget, I know that you'd have a big response. I did, like when I first came, I did like this simple thing just to kind of see what people would want up there. And there was like a ton of response.
Good, okay.
So I think like using the Nextdoor app and pushing out like a SurveyMonkey survey through it, you'd get a lot.
If you want to do Reagan Hill, you need to do it next month so we can get your budget to you in June. That would be great. And who are you gonna survey up there? Just the new neighborhood that it's actually in, or the neighborhood behind it, or what were you planning?
Well, certainly the homes that are on that road and then the cul-de-sac. I would think even maybe some of those homes that when you go down that walkway, homes on that other street. So I guess I'm open to ideas on, is there a way to know how to send info to those people digitally, or do we need to just put something in the mail to them?
Let me look, because we have a lot of emails now, because we've been doing more things where our computer can send out emails to people about their bills. So let me see, let me have someone, I'm not gonna do it, create a map, and then maybe get it to you guys, and you guys can let me know if you want it to go further or what, and then we can work on that. I think it would be best to do it electronically, because you get more response if they don't have to do anything. But we could do a SurveyMonkey as soon as if you guys want to come up with the questions, or if one of you wants to come up with questions instead of taking time all. But I mean, it could be simple, it's a very limited size, so it's not going to be a lot there. There'll probably be like one play structure and then maybe one independent thing, off of it. So
Yeah.
Another way to do surveys, my company makes software that sends surveys out through phone numbers. So if you just have everyone's phone number, they
Yeah.
reply really easily through text
Yeah.
message or through voice
And
message.
we have that too. We do phone calls now for people for late notices and stuff. So I think we could do either one. Okay.
So Denise, I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time as far as forming questions, because the main question is, as we consider developing this park, do you have any input as far as
Okay.
what should go in it?
Yeah.
And keep it as general as that,
Okay.
and then they can just speak generally that they want a
Okay.
bench, they want a trash can or whatever.
Okay. So what amenities do you see in this park?
Right.
Okay.
I don't know what we're gonna do if they all want a splash pad though.
Oh, I already told him Cascadia Ridge. Someone was like, I want a splash pad up here. I said, you're not going to get a splash pad.
That's not a
That's the
neighborhood
same
park
thought.
thing. Okay, I'll put something together and send it out to everybody.
All right. So I got one of the goals, and then better signage. We don't need to talk about that now, but that's one of the goals. And we were mostly concerned in our tour is the park up there by you, Denise. There's like, we don't even know it's a park because there's not much of a sign there. So we don't need to do anything about that now, but that's one of our goals.
That's why it's a neighborhood park. Only the neighborhood can find it.
Okay, all right.
Very hard to find.
So then on the partnership goals, it's partnering with the library and promote the Lakeshore Waterfront Park, work more closely with the schools, then promote parks at the Timber Festival and the Summer Celebration, assuming that those happen. So those are, again, goals. So I guess I'm coming out of our little discussion and seeing those written goals. I'd like to officially just, if we could, somebody move to adopt those goals for this year. If you like them, if you feel like we need to talk about them more, we can do that as well. So I'll leave it to you guys. We can move those ahead so they can make those our official goals. Somebody want to make a motion?
You have to make a motion.
Yeah. Come on, let's do it.
I will make a motion to approve the goals for the, what year, 2021, 22?
2021.
2021 budget year.
I second that.
All right. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Thank you, guys.
Do you guys mind if we use the word work plan instead of goals? Because it's kind of a work plan.
That's
They
fine.
aren't all goals.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, one more quick question, Denise. What do you think of that phase 3 of Wade Creek Park?
Yep.
Is the library board, I know we already have a plan, but what role do they play in this? Because this is not just park, but it's also part of the library, and I know the library is part of the city. So how is that going to work moving ahead? Is the library board going to be chiming in on this as well?
Yeah, they have been all throughout the process, but they are the library board and the library friends of the library, they're going to pay for all of the inside stuff in the rooms once the amphitheater gets built. So they'll pay for the furniture and the electronics and everything in there. They will also be scheduling that building once it's up and running also.
Okay.
So yeah, but they're aware of it, and they've been having input about things all along. So when we meet with the engineers, we have Michelle there so she can report back to them.
Good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
All right, that's all of our agenda. Is there any other comments or anything anybody'd like to bring up before we close? All right. Look forward to meeting face to face in our next meeting. So Taryn, you'll type up the minutes and send them out to us, huh? All right. Thank you, guys. We'll adjourn. Have a great